Some people say, I'm just always so thirsty. Well, actually, if they are thirsty, it could be because they just need more water and to help flush the toxins out. But it could be that they're actually craving more minerals. And the thing is to go back to your question about the dose of the salt, I use half a teaspoon 2 to 3 times a day. Why do humans have sex? It's 1, to reproduce, but 2, because it's fun. Now, it's naturally fun. Therefore, we do reproduce more. And if it wasn't fun, we wouldn't do it as much because it's a messy business. But the point is the same with biohacking and optimizing your health. Once you're running at 95 or 99%, it's still fun to use some of these, like kidney supplements or, V-light, red light therapy for your nose and things. It's still fun and it makes you feel good as well. But also it has the dual purpose of making you feel better.
Think, Flow, Growcast. Today, it's all about health optimization and biohacking with one of the leaders in the fields, Tim Gray. Tim Gray is UK's leading biohacker, the founder of the Health Optimisation Summit in London and of Health Optimisation Supplements. After he spends years of self-healing his body from his chronic health conditions through biohacking alone, Tim's mission is right now to educate and empower about topics like sleep, dental and oral health, gut and digestion, hydration and mineral balancing, nootropics and psychedelics. And we will touch all of that. We talk about his best tools and tactics for building muscle, his actual training program, hydration, grounding, and a lot of his supplements. Tim gives us insights on how he developed and why his own supplement brand with Dr. Dominik Nischwitz. We also dive deep into amino acids for more energy during training, creatine, MTHFR polymorphisms, phospholipids, and much more. You can find all the things we cover in the show notes. Before we jump in, just a quick thanks to our sponsor for this episode. In this episode, we discussed essential amino acids, and as you know, I'm a big fan of essential amino acids too. And the product I use is Smart Protein from Everydays. Smart Protein delivers you all the building blocks you need for your body and for your brain. So for me, it's like my Swiss Army knife. I use them before my workout, after my workout, sometimes before I sleep for better sleep, and in the morning while fasting for my cognitive function. The essential amino acids are composed in a ratio like your body. It's called a human amino pattern. There are no fillers, no sweeteners, nothing else. So it's perfect for your stomach, good for your gut. And yeah, I really love it. You can find the link for Everydays in the show notes, and you can use the code ThinkFlowGrow10 for saving 10%. And if you're already there, I really like their probiotic, their Protect, that's an anti-inflammatory complex, and their Alive, that's a really good product for more energy during the day. Thank you so much for your support. And now let's jump into.
So, hi Tim, nice to have you here.
Yeah, thanks Tim.
Yeah, and I'm really happy to have you here because you are called UK's leading biohacker. And we talked right now, we don't want to talk a lot about your history and all that stuff. We want to go what's up right now. And if I'm looking what you are doing, you have a lot of passion. And I really love people that are really passionate. And what I'm interested in, what is it, what you're passionate about? What brings your eyes light up?
That's a really good question.
That's a big one, yeah.
I really like people knowing how to be better, and I'm talking health and performance generally. It excites me when people say that was a what the fuck moment, as in like, I can't believe I've learned something that was so obvious, like filtering water and remineralizing it, something really basic. They're like, oh my God, I've been drinking tap water my whole life and I didn't realize, and everyone told me it was safe, or, any of these things. So that's really my passion. Building things like the conference, for instance, that enables people to learn more so that they can have a healthier, happier life. That's really what, floats my boat. Also, I'm very passionate about having my face in the sun, or should I say my body in the sun, while grounding and being hydrated properly, and being in nature, because, this is what we evolved with, and this is what makes us healthier. And for me, that's really when I'm in flow state. So that's what I'm really passionate about.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, I like the what the fuck moment. So it's incredible. Yeah, and that's why you're doing it. And just quick introduction, what are you doing? So how are you doing the why?
So I run, part of my history, and I won't go into how I got sick and all these things that I figured out, because people don't want to hear my history, but I started a meetup group in London, which grew to be the biggest biohacking meetup group on the planet that meet on a regular basis pre-pandemic. And that grew to about 300 people every month meeting up on a Sunday with a speaker and various brands. So I did a conference, and that conference is now the biggest health optimizing / biohacking conference in Europe, with 1,500 people planned for next year. And really, it's my main role is finding authors, speakers, some obscure content of emerging, let's say, trends or health topics, and the brands and the products all into one place, so that someone such as yourself, or one of your listeners, or one of my followers on Instagram, for instance, can come along and they're having a field day of learning all these what the fuck moments left, right, and center, and testing out brands and testing out different supplements that may help them, or technologies and things. Because, like I often say, actually, is why do humans have sex? It's one, to reproduce, but two, because it's fun. Now, it's naturally fun, therefore we do reproduce more. And if it wasn't fun, we wouldn't do it as much, because it's a messy business. But the point is the same with biohacking and optimizing your health. Once you're running at 95 or 99%, it's still fun to use some of these, like kidney supplements, or, V-light, red light therapy for your nose and things. It's still fun, and it makes you feel good as well. But also it has the dual purpose of making you feel better. So really the summit is the main thing that I do that brings everything like this together, so people can have fun, meet like-minded communities, make loads of friends, etc., etc., etc.
Nice. What was the last what the fuck moment in your past month or past half year?
You got some good questions, not normal ones that I usually get asked.
You told me that I shouldn't ask the regular questions. So.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good to get me thinking. It's more, I think, in what I know is ridiculous in the last month, opposed to what I have learned. I'm always learning stuff every single day. I dedicate time every day to reading, furthering my knowledge. But one thing that's been happening a lot, and you may know if you obviously you follow me on Instagram, but there's a certain influencer with about 1 million followers who shares out, how to be healthier and lose weight is, don't eat a whole pizza, eat half the pizza and reduce your calories. Don't have a Starbucks macchiato with whipped cream and caramel on it, have it without the caramel. And I just it's mind blowing that they think that this equals health. And then they call us pseudoscience people because we say no, because if you eat natural foods, it naturally has less calories, you get less hungry and you lose weight naturally and you don't feel like crap and have a crash and you actually have better cellular health. So for me, it's like the what the fuck moment is there's people that actually are utterly convinced that eating healthy is having less calories alone, when there's actually no such thing as a calorie. There's not a physical thing. It's just a unit of energy, approximation. And having less energy doesn't equal losing weight necessarily. It's not just as simple as that. So my what the fuck moment was, how can these people be so stupid? And even when you break down their logic and show it's false, they still fight for it. But at the same time, I understand that people have to start somewhere. And if they are a couch potato, watching Netflix, eating packet meals and having, 4,000 calories a day of crap with a tub of ice cream, halving that will actually help them, but it is self-limiting. It's not going to help them in their health. It's just going to help them realize that there is a way forward. And then they bounce on to people like us that can really help them. So that was really my main what the fuck moment in the last month, that people really are convinced. And I think if we think about current worldwide situation, which is not to be mentioned, like people are convinced both ways, anti or pro. Some people are absolutely, this is the right thing to do, and other people are convinced absolutely the wrong thing to do. And I like to think that there's something in between, because the goal is health, not opinion. So, and I think it's the same with the calorie side of things. Yes, calories in, calories out does count, but if you're not eating nutritionally dense foods, you're not going to be healthy. You're just going to probably lose weight and be unhappy.
Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting, because the concept of calories. So it's a useful concept for an entry point or something like that. And for myself, I don't count calories right now, but I used that concept for a couple of years, and it was useful. Maybe it wasn't the truth, but it was useful. So do you count calories right now or in the last years, or how are your thoughts about this concept of calories and maybe macros too?
Yeah, I do. I count calories every day. I count calories on every meal. I track everything that goes in my body except for water and minerals. Because my goal, as per my Instagram, was to go from 60 kilos to 75 kilos. And I did 60 to 72 kilos in 9 weeks. But that was eating 3 grams of protein per kilo of body weight, of target body weight, which is over what we actually need and probably can utilize. But my metabolism is so fast and my digestion had been so poor historically that I need more food. So I was on a 3,000 calorie a day diet with 200 to 300 grams of protein, which is a lot, but it works. It really works. And if I undereat, if I have under 2,900 calories a day, then I actually lose weight quite quickly. So I like to track just to make sure that I'm accountable to maintaining my weight at the moment while I've been traveling, and now I'm back in the country and working out and ramping up the calories and timing my carbs accordingly. So yeah, I do. I mean, the irony is that this particular influencer the other week actually said that I had an eating disorder because I like to eat nutrient-dense foods and don't eat Starbucks and McDonald's. The irony is someone like that promotes calories in, calories out, and eat half the calories actually has an eating disorder and is promoting eating disorders by saying just half your calories and making everyone worry about the calories in the first place, opposed to eating natural food where you don't even have to think about the calories. So, I do track them, and I think it's a good approximation and it's a good benchmark. It's the same as tracking your sleep. If you don't track your sleep, you don't actually know how much deep sleep you had, and if you need to optimize something to improve that. So you might go around feeling that you're healthy and great, but in fact you're underslept. So I think if you don't track it, you can't adjust. But there is an element or a point where it comes to, okay, I've now tracked it for 2 years solid. I know what I need to put in and what comes out. I can kind of let go of it. And it's the same with the sleep eventually as well.
Yeah, the muscle building topic is really, really interesting, because my community is all about fitness, that are fitness enthusiasts. And I'm really interested in what you are doing for building muscle mass and building your body right now in terms of biohacking. So maybe first of all, what's your training program like?
You mean in terms of gym routine or?
Yeah, gym routine or on the travels.
Yeah, my main is actually very mixed. So I actually stretch every day. So every day it's obligatory. I do my sun cell stretches. I do press ups. I do my rebounding. I use a foam roller for my spine because my posture was like this from my whole family was. So I've been working on bringing it back. So as you can see, I've still got a curve. So this is an area I'm working on. So it involves an area of manipulation and treatment on that. And then in the gym itself, I have a set routine. So I actually go to a place called the Lanzerhof, which you probably know from Germany.
Yeah.
We have one in London called Lanzerhof at the Arts Club, and they are, the state of the art, like Lanzerhof, where they do full measurement of everything. They put you on a running machine, which balances how your feet land and which way, and you see yourself as a stick man on the screen in front, so that they know how to adjust you so that you're running straight and everything. So, and then they put you through a whole training protocol based on your weight or your goals specifically, and it's actually intelligent gym system with some free weights as well. So it really varies for me depending on the training that they put together. But for me, ultimately it's about bulking and becoming from less of this with forward shoulders to further back and up straight and getting some lean weight on, which I've been traveling for 5 months, so there's only a certain amount of actually bulking you can do when you're in random areas, not necessarily having decent gyms, but the stretches, the push-ups, the chin-ups and things like that is the thing. But when I'm powering on, when I am in London, for instance, then it's pretty intensive, and I do three sessions a week plus daily stuff at home.
Mm-hmm. And when you're traveling in a hotel or something like that, are you training in there with equipment or without? Or?
So I take stretch bands, various stretch bands, and I use door frames, and I use my body weight. I mean, ultimately, where I am with biohacking is everything mimics nature. Red light therapy, sun; blue light therapy, sad lighting, sunrise, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, breath work, everything can be replaced with nature. And I have the same belief when it comes to body weight. I mean, we evolved building houses, lifting rocks, playing with the kids. We didn't evolve with a gym. So therefore, our natural body composition should be that which we would have had through free movement and through natural working out. So while it's nice to be heavier, and that is ultimately my goal, actually, to get to 78 kilos lean body weight. While I'm traveling, I actually prefer to just have my mind space in the morning, my affirmations, my reading, my stretches, my press ups, my chin ups, and the stretch bands as well. Otherwise, I just feel like it's the same routine day in, day out, wherever I am in the world, and I just become a robot opposed to, having some flexibility.
Yeah, I'm thinking about every topic, the minimal effective dose. So for exercise. So, and I'm really into fitness. So I'm doing a lot. My minimal effective dose could be way more, but I would be interested. What's your minimal effective dose in training, movement, and exercise, where you feel really good, and if you don't do enough, you feel bad? So what is it, the MED?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, as you know, in biohacking, minimum effective dose is, like, for instance, with the Carol exercise bike is amazing. I don't know if you've had a go on the Carol bike, but 3 times a week for 8 minutes, it gives you a 45-minute workout 3 times, and it's minimum effective dose instead of having to do spin class like crazy. So I really enjoy that. That's a part of my routine. I think for me, 15 minutes of stretches or personal time in the morning is enough as a tick over. When I'm at the gym, I really need an hour, which I think is pretty standard, actually. An hour of weights and 15 minutes of stretches is normal. I can do that. My optimal, if I push it more than 3 times a week, I find that I use up too much energy. And because previously I had adrenal fatigue, and I was actually went from super high energy to super crashing very quickly. So I find 3 times is optimal. If I do more than that, I find that I'm pushing myself to do more exercise than I need or what I mentally want. And if I do 2, I'm not quite happy enough, and I feel guilty for not doing it. So it's a kind of, but again, this really does depend on where I am in the world, how much sunlight I'm getting and how much nature I'm getting, because like traveling in the last 5 months, I was pretty much swimming most days, doing a lot of exercise. And I found that I only needed to do, weights of some description once a week, and the swimming every day and the breath work from holding my breath and being under the water as long as I could, and all these things contributed to a very healthy mind and body. Actually much better vitals than being in the city and using a gym and forcing myself, to go 3+ times a week.
I absolutely get it that the gym is a substitute for natural lifestyle. You always already mentioned that you go for 2 up to 3 grams of protein per day. Yeah, what are you eating or supplementing for muscle gain? So some little biohacking stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay. First of all, nutrient-dense foods. Obviously, you cannot do better. I really like ribeye steaks, lamb chops, wild caught salmon, clean organic vegetables, and I probably have 30% vegetables, 60% meat, something like that. I don't like to rely on powders and products too much these days. However, they really do help you hit your goals quite quickly. So, for instance, a product I brought out recently was Aminos, actually, Health Optimisation Supplements recently, and it's core 5 products at the moment, and we're building out the range. But our flagship product, and it is for me in my life as well, is branch chain with essential amino acids. And I know, obviously, branch chain are inessential on their own, but we have extra leucine in there. So you have branch chain and essential creatine, glutamine, taurine, and magnesium malate as well. So it's a 5 or 6 in 1 stack. As you know, creatine being one of the most studied supplements of all time. And for people with the metabolism, especially people with genetic SNPs in the MTHFR, creatine is an amazing supplement and really does help in upregulating metabolism, helps with the end process of methylation. It helps with weight gain and water, how you retain water. So when stacked with the aminos, which are, let's say, pre-digested or immediately available in the muscle, and considering we use, I think it's 35% of the protein used in exercise is from the aminos, the branch chain aminos during exercise, I believe. Having the aminos during a workout with that stack is actually really powerful. And so I use 5 scoops. The recommended is 3. I use 5, which gives like 20 grams of amino protein. And I do that twice a day. In fact, I spoke to Sim Land about it this week. We actually did a podcast last week, which is really interesting because talking all about the protein and bodybuilding, because this is his thing at the moment. And he was saying, well, we were discussing how important the aminos are for brain power, for neurotransmitters. And it's funny how a lot of people that are predominantly plant-based or vegan actually don't necessarily have the brain power, and yet they don't realize it, or they can be actually quite placid and chilled. And when they have something, even if it's a fermented amino source, which is vegan friendly, they come alive, they start bouncing down the road. Their neurotransmitters are like literally fired up like they're not used to having. So I think the aminos is the fundamental thing for me that makes me feel great in the morning, even before my bulletproof coffee and during workout. So, and that contributes 20 to 30 grams a day of my protein. It's not complete, but it's amazing. And then I rely on food for the most part. And then I don't really use protein powders. I did formulate one with Dr. Dominik Nischwitz recently, which is more of a functional medicine shake to help repair the gut. It's rice protein with digestive enzymes, glutamine, prebiotics, probiotics, that really helps repair the gut. It's not super high in leucine, but with your whole day being, eating properly and having the aminos, then you have enough leucine in the day for protein synthesis to help muscle gain. So I think in summary, eat the best, cleanest foods you can, high protein, because it's satiating naturally. And then support with the right powders, but don't rely on the powders, which I think a lot of people in the weight gain, trying to gain weight, rely on the powders and have so much whey protein and don't necessarily eat enough quality food, and therefore, imbalance things as a result. I'd love to know your take on it, actually.
Absolutely. So, I would do the same. So first real food, and then supplementing with powder and essential amino acids. I personally eat a lot of protein powder because I don't want to eat too much meat. So that's always a little bit of a struggle. I don't want to eat 2 or 3 times per day meat or fish or eggs. So I do a little bit more of whey protein or protein powder. But it depends a little bit. But I'm a really big fan of your essential amino acid and branched chain amino acids too. And I read a lot of studies that branched chain amino acids aren't just good for mTOR and muscle growth and all that stuff, but for your neurotransmitters too, and the drive and the training. So it's absolutely a thing that you're more driven and all that stuff. And
I think it's an area that people undervalue.
But I never heard about the correlation between creatine and the MTHFR mutation or polymorphism. Do you know how does it support exactly the MTHFR, the methylation cycle?
So the way it was explained to me, actually, I discussed this with Dr. Dominik Nischwitz, 2 weeks ago when I was with him. The end result of methylation ultimately is creatine. Obviously, there's a whole load of processes that methylation does in terms of red blood cell formulation, detoxification, liver phase 1, liver phase 2, blah, 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 blah. But one of the end products of methylation is actually creatine. So people that under-methylate by having creatine actually is bypassing a lot of that. So it actually help upregulate metabolism for them better. I'm not an expert in it, but this was discussed with Dom last couple of weeks ago. And it was really, really interesting how he explained it intricately. So
interesting. Yeah, because that's my topic too, because I have this polymorphism too. So, and I'm really interested in upregulating it. And
I mean, that's why we've got, I think it's 1.2 grams in the aminos. And people say, well, why haven't you got 5 grams as well? If you want it twice, you don't want to be having 10 grams of creatine a day. And while some people say you should load with it, I don't think so. I think 5 grams a day is good. So if you are having other supplements and things like that, or if you've got your separate creatine, I like Creapure personally, the aminos twice a day, that gives you 2.4. That's half of your daily creatine. And then, you can supplement with 2.5 grams to take you to the 5 a day, which is the ideal. But it's funny because creatine apparently is the most studied supplement of all, basically.
It's so fun because I had a client of mine, a woman, she's training pull-ups for half a year. And 2 or 3 weeks ago, she started with supplementing creatine, just a teaspoon a day, 5 grams. And right now she can do 1 pull-up. So it's a little bit crazy, but it's so easy. It's so cheap. It's well studied. That's what I recommend too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, some people find that it messes with their sleep to start with. And that's why it's best to have it kind of in the morning, not necessarily in the afternoon. For me, it doesn't affect my sleep unless I take it crazy late. But I think it does level out after a week or so. So you just have to. But actually, it's funny because Ben Greenfield said a while ago that when people don't sleep so well with creatine, it's actually because they require less sleep. It's not necessarily that they are sleeping worse. It's just their body is saying, I don't need quite as much sleep to recover, which is interesting. I mean, it's an interesting theory. I don't know how much there is backing it, but still it's an interesting point. But I find that people that do go onto creatine actually do level out over a couple of weeks and actually, find that they're sleeping better once it's settled back down again.
Yeah, that's because I heard a couple of times that you can take creatine before sleep, and then your sleep could improve. So it's pretty interesting that everyone has to test it on his own. Yeah.
Well, the other thing is we know that if you take B12 or methylfolate before bed, you probably won't sleep very well because it's upregulating so many things. But then if you have trimethylglycine, so if you have the MTHFR SNP, try adding in 2,000 milligrams of trimethylglycine straight before bed. now the methyl donors with the trimethylglycine. So not only is it glycine, so it's obviously helping you with detoxification, the trimethyl part actually gives you the methyl donors, which gives your body what it needs to actually be into parasympathetic mode while you're sleeping. Now, for me, my heart rate variability doubles when I take 2,000 milligrams of trimethylglycine before bed. On the assumption I'm not in a Wi-Fi area where people have got, in my apartment, for instance, it's not bad. But when I'm in a hotel, my heart rate variability tanks because of the Wi-Fi, even if I'm taking trimethylglycine. But if your environment is clean, you haven't got mold toxicity in a house, and you haven't got Wi-Fi bouncing around everywhere, you'll find that trimethylglycine, if you have one of the genes, SNPs for methylation, you'll find that your heart rate variability just goes crazy and your readiness hits, an all-time high. So it's a really good hack for anyone that's got one of the MTHFR genes.
That's awesome. It's really funny that you mentioned that right now, because last night I took my B vitamin complex in the evening because of a couple of different reasons. And then in the bed, my nerves are really irritated, so I couldn't sleep at all, and my right triceps was shaking a little bit. It was horrible, like nerve irritation. But I have the TMG, 3-methylglycine here, and I'll try it this tonight. Yeah.
2,000 milligrams. Yeah. I mean, if you ever have your Bs late in the evening, if you take niacin B3, I take 500 milligrams. If I need to calm down, you'll find that actually helps calm the whole methylation and helps you sleep. And it's actually one of the best sleep hacks that there is, taking niacin before bed.
So 500 milligram niacin and 2 grams of TMG. So
yeah, well, the thing is with niacin is you can get the niacin flush, and which means you turn into a beetroot, and it all gets all prickly and tingly. And some people get freaked out thinking they're having an allergic reaction. They're not. It's actually quite normal. Often, if you drink alcohol, when you have high inflammation levels, the niacin will give you a flush. Or if you've not been well for a few days, you'll get the niacin flush. But after a few days of using niacin, you won't get the flush anymore. And then you might have it once a month. I used to do 50 milligrams and then 100 milligrams. And then actually Dr. Dominik Nischwitz gave me 500 milligrams of niacin to try out. And I've been using 500 milligrams ever since. And so, yeah, before bed, that is just lovely.
And there are a lot of formulations. They are called no flush niacin. Do you try that?
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't have the same effect. I don't think it should be messed with, and I think the flush is much better.
And you mentioned in your formula, your essential amino acid formula, taurine. Why are you using taurine inside? So, taurine is essential for bile salts for the liver. And so if you've heard of the supplement TUDCA, which is a really well-known bile salt, actually Body Bio, one of my favorite supplement brands, actually sells TUDCA. It's been very well, it has a lot of clinical evidence with bodybuilders with high liver enzymes specifically. And it's also very good for people with high cholesterol. It's a specific bile salt. It helps you use disperse certain oils from your food and in your digestive tract, and it supports the liver. And as you know, that if your liver's screwed, basically your digestion is screwed, your energy is screwed, your hormones are screwed, everything falls apart. So you really want to support your liver. So taurine helps upregulate. It's the precursor actually to TUDCA. So it supports your liver, which supports your digestion, which supports your energy production. It's actually also a very well-studied thing. I think it was Red Bull that used to say that we have taurine added to it to give you wings. I don't know quite where they get that claim from, but taurine is very, very good. But for instance, if anyone says to me, like, what should I supplement with? I always say, support your liver and your digestion. And now most people think, adding in probiotics, for instance, is the thing to do to fix your gut. But why is the gut bad in the first place? Is it because you're stressed and
you're not producing enough stomach acid as a result. Therefore, you've got viruses and bacteria into your digestive tract? Or is it because your liver is stressed because you're dehydrated and you're not producing the right liver bile because it's salts? So therefore, supporting your liver and your digestion is the first place to start, in my opinion. I would recommend HCl, ox bile, digestive enzymes, and that helps fix the gut. And that's why TUDCA is so important, because not only is it good for energy production, it's good for supporting the digestion. And then that comes down to obviously getting the nutrients into your cells and the toxins out of your cells.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really, really interesting. Yeah, you talked a lot about hydration. So how do you have any recommendations for hydration? What do you do in your daily practice?
I have Celtic sea salt everywhere I go. Actually, I used this just a minute ago. It's not product placement because I don't buy it anymore, but it's Quinton hydration or Quinton hypertonic. Considering we're majority water as a unit, having rubbish water means that the majority of us is rubbish. Like if we had drinking tap water that's got plenty of toxins in, and like actually when testing water around the country and in multiple European countries, actually, Legionnaire's disease is found in the water very commonly. There's high levels of metals, antibiotics, and hormones. And that's not being paranoid. That's fact. I mean, you can actually see this stuff online. Some countries don't use fluoride. Some countries do use fluoride. And fluoride, while fluoride is actually natural, but what they use in the water system actually is a byproduct of the glyphosate industry, and that's what they add to the water. So if you're drinking water with all these toxins in, then you're going to be putting toxins into your body. And if your liver isn't working properly, or you have a genetic SNP that slows down your detoxification, you're going to be storing these chemicals instead of breaking them down and exiting them. So filtering your water is key, making sure that it's clean water. But if you filter it, obviously it's going to lose some of the minerals. Now, water serves, or should I say hydration serves, two purposes. Water to help keep our blood liquid and to flush out toxins via our kidneys. Two, to get electrolytes, minerals, into our bloodstream for our energy. So think of our veins as our electrical wires. And by having electrons from the ground or from food, photons from the sun, this is charging our body up, but we need to have that energy moving around our body. And if we don't have enough electrolytes, then our energy production, it may be okay, but not necessarily moving around our body properly, which is when people get adrenally fatigued because they're actually dehydrated and their adrenals are struggling because they're having to work so hard. Remineralizing your water and having clean water means that you have enough electrolytes, your wiring is good, your mental clarity is significantly better, and that's the best nootropic you can actually have along with breath work. Most people are drinking tap water, which is low in minerals, or bottled water, which comes from a spring that is low in minerals anyway. And the interesting thing was actually I met someone from one of the big water companies, European ones, not to be mentioned, the name. And I said, you do realize that low mineral water means that we drink more water. And he said, yes, we know this as an industry. The lower the mineral content, the more water that people need to buy.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy.
And so this is why when you go to somewhere like Spain or Croatia, they always have a high mineral content water, one of them, like I think it's Vichy Catalan or something or other in Spain is one of them. There's Jamnica in Croatia. There's a super high mineral magnesium one from Slovakia or Slovenia. Because people sweat so much, they need to rehydrate, and that includes the salt. So the simplest way to do it everywhere else in the world is reverse osmosis water filter, and then remineralize with, like a third of a teaspoon of Celtic sea salt. The reason why it's Celtic is because it's the most mineral similar to our blood in composition. And the assumption is that we came from the sea or evolved from the sea. Therefore, we are made very similar to the sea. So that's why I like Celtic sea salt. But Himalayan rock salt is almost okay, in my opinion. And various other sea salts are as well. But Celtic is my favorite.
Yeah. I use the Himalayan sea salt because of the color, just like the color. But yeah, and how much salt do you consume in a day? How many grams? Because I think a lot of people are really concerned about too much salt. It's dangerous. Blah blah blah.
I actually posted today by complete chance on this topic on Instagram, and really interesting. It was a post done by Simland and James Nicol Antonio originally, and it's what people think salt does versus what it actually does. Now, the funny thing is table salt, which is sodium chloride, it's just processed, it's heated to ridiculous temperatures, and it's a byproduct, it's just sodium and chloride. Whereas sea salt actually has 78 to 82 trace elements and minerals in it, and it's not a product, it's actually naturally from the sea. One causes blood pressure issues and various health issues, and then you get put on a low salt diet because of that. But actually, sea salt, with the right ratios of minerals and trace elements, the body knows what to do with it, and it doesn't cause these blood pressure issues. And actually, more salt is better. And it's counter to what most people believe or have been taught. And yet, when people get put on a low salt diet, and the doctors say go on a low salt diet, they're talking low table salt, but they don't necessarily realize it. What they should be doing most of the time, in my opinion, and according to James in his book, The Salt Fix, is actually they should be having more salt, but proper salt. Yeah, I mean, the list here is like, and this is true, obviously, sodium chloride converts to hydrochloric acid for the stomach. So if you're low in salt, you're actually low in stomach acid. And the list is like, it helps with nutrient absorption, immunity, thyroid hormones, vitamin C movement, insulin sensitivity, improve in sleep, neurotransmitters, magnesium and calcium balancing, lowers cholesterol, increases stomach acid, reduces stress hormones, which is very true. Exercise performance improves, reduces blood viscosity, and increases energy. All of these things are absolutely true just from salt. And so if you're not having enough, then, all of these things can have an issue. For me, I was chronically fatigued. I was peeing 30 to 50 times a day. And the doctors just said, drink more water so you don't get dehydrated. But the thing is, my kidneys were saying, I don't have enough electrolytes and I need more. So drink more, because if you drink more, you'll put more minerals in. But then as a result, you've got more water coming out. And so I was getting more and more dehydrated the more and more water I drank, because I was peeing more and more, until I realized actually it's a deficient in minerals. And I was testing each one by one to see which mineral actually helped me retain water. I figured this out like 8 or 9 years ago. And for me, it was potassium. The moment I supplemented with potassium, and it was like 200 milligrams twice a day, that was within 48 hours, I stopped peeing 30 to 50 times a day. And that's no exaggeration. I would have a cup of tea or a drink and I'd be in the toilet and I'd seem to go toilet twice as much as what I drank. Adding potassium in stopped that. And I haven't ever had the problem since, unless I go a month without supplementing potassium. And then I start peeing probably like 8-10 times a day. But typically it's 5 times a day. And maintenance is with this. And yet that's a big what the fuck moment probably for a lot of people listening to this, because it goes against everything they've been told. It goes against most medical advice. And yet you just have to test it for yourself if you're peeing too much or if you're chronically fatigued. It's crazy. And you'll see, the proof is in the pudding, is actually in the eating of the pudding. But
yeah, that's really, really interesting. So at my what the fuck moment with the hydration was a couple of years ago. I ran a marathon in the mountains. And I just had clear water without electrolytes, and I drank the water and I had to pee immediately. And I was really, really thirsty, and I drank, but I was thirsty. And then I had salt on the station, and I had the salt and the water, and then I had to pee for half an hour, and I wasn't thirsty at all. It was so interesting during the marathon. that was my what the fuck moment with hydration.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's crazy, isn't it? How many people could be helped if they actually knew this? It's really, really, really crazy. And it's like the body's saying, drink more water because I need more minerals. Sometimes you're low in water because you just haven't drunk enough water. So that's where the two purposes of hydrating comes in. But the more and more thirsty you get, it's like some people say, I'm just always so thirsty. Well, actually, if they are thirsty, it could be because they just need more water and to help flush the toxins out. But it could be that they're actually craving more minerals. And the thing is to go back to your question about the dose of the salt, I use half a teaspoon 2 to 3 times a day. I'm not prescriptive with it by any means. When I feel like I need it, I add it in. But earlier days, I'd have to have it every morning, every afternoon, every evening. Otherwise, I wouldn't feel right. But it gets to the point where your cells are much more hydrated and you have the right mineral balances in you. And you can actually do hair mineral analysis tests to check for this. But when people end up adding too much salt in too quickly, they say, I start bloating from all this water. My gut feels too heavy and I'm bloating from it. It's like, okay, we'll back it off. Or people are saying, since I added the salt in, I got even more thirsty. I was like, yeah, because you're putting too much salt in and your body's saying, quick, dilute it. So there is an element of kind of suck it and see, but a good place to start, in my opinion, is half a teaspoon in the morning, half a teaspoon in the evening. Actually, my course that I brought out a few months ago has a whole day dedicated to hydration, how to optimize it, what to look for, and this in more detail, which is one of the more popular modules actually.
Yeah, nice. I read about your course. So and we already covered the hydration part. So and you talk a lot about grounding. I'm sure in your course you talk about grounding too. Yeah, what I'm interested in, grounding, where can I ground? Or what, maybe first just a couple of sentences about what is grounding, and then where can I ground on the street or in nature, or how is it possible?
Grounding is very basic. It's something that we evolved with. We're standing on the ground. Doesn't get much more basic. And yet now we have shoes with rubber soles where we don't touch the ground anymore. Now we know that the planet is electrical and there's magnetic poles. When we stand on the ground, and you can measure this, it's not woo-woo or hippie or whatever you want to call it, you can measure the flow of electricity in your body when you're standing on the ground. It's a transfer of electrons, and those electrons basically neutralize, or should I say, pair with and neutralize free radicals, which are the byproduct of our mitochondria doing its thing, which reduces inflammation. It essentially restores the electrical balance in our body. Okay. You can get it by standing in water, or swimming in water is the best because you're immersed in it. You can get it by standing on the grass or on soil, generally not on pavements on the sidewalk, because that usually has plastic lining underneath, so it's not connected to the ground. Or, like I've got here, I've got a mouse mat that's plugged into the earth point of the socket. So I'm earthed out whenever I'm podcasting or working. You can get bed sheets and mouse mats and yoga mats and all these things. But the best way is, how we evolved, which is in the park with your shoes off. And that really helps maintain the balance of the body. And as if you know about the electron transport chain, obviously, which is all about energy production and supporting the mitochondria, or the energy production for the mitochondria, should I say, electrons, you get free electrons by standing on the grass. And that helps energy production and helps your body run more efficiently. And it's very funny that people that start grounding, and I recommend start with 20 minutes a day, and then go up to 20 minutes twice a day, which is really the minimum. They find that they have better deep sleep, better REM sleep. Their mental capacity improves significantly. Their, headaches suddenly go, joint issues start resolving. It's funny what happens when you give the body the electricity it needs, and it becomes even more efficient if you're hydrated properly with the right minerals, because again, that's the electrical system. The thing is, the medical world only really seems to focus on electricity in the body. If your heart stops, Or if you're super dehydrated, they give you an IV bag to get you rehydrated. Apart from that, they don't seem to really utilize the electricity of the body very much. But then you have bioresonance, and you have grounding, and you have all the different things like that uses electricity and frequencies in the body. And yet they often get called woo-woo when in fact it's not at all. Bioresonance being very controversial, of course.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm thinking about the comparison about staying in nature in the grass and staying on your grounding mat right now. Mm-hmm. So would it be equivalent to do 1 hour on your grounding mat right now doing the podcast, or standing outside? Is it a substitute?
Yeah, it's very good. I mean, it's the flow of electrons that's important. For instance, if you have pain, actually, I recorded a podcast with Clint Ober, who is the father of the whole grounding movement, who kind of figured a lot of this stuff out last week. It's due to come out in a week or so. But if you have, for instance, a pain, you've had dental surgery, you can get a patch, an earthing patch where it plugs in to the earth socket in the wall, and you'll find that the pain resolves and inflammation goes, because it's the most powerful and free anti-inflammatory you can get is grounding. So you can actually put a patch on it and you'll feel the pain vanish quite quickly. So having a mouse mat like this one here is great, and it's good for my body because I am actually grounding, but nothing beats standing on the grass or swimming in the sea. Actually, the swimming in the sea is the absolute best. Like, for instance, if you've had a bad day and you're stressed and you swim in the sea, you see the difference in how you feel almost immediately. You cannot be stressed unless you've got a shark or a jellyfish on you, just because if you have low cortisol and you stand on the ground, you're earthing, your cortisol will come back to baseline. If you have high cortisol standing on the earth, your cortisol will reduce to baseline and sync with your daily rhythm significantly better from grounding alone. And this has been measured and repeated in studies. There's actually, I think it's 23 studies, including peer-reviewed studies on grounding now. It's taken a while for it to get there, showing how much of an effect it has on inflammation, even in thermography scans, even looking at the red blood cell under the microscope to see before they're clumped together, needing thinning. After grounding, they're equidistant without needing thinning and free flowing, showing the electrical charge in the body is restored. So, that's why, again, there's a whole day dedicated to this in more detail and how to implement it in my course. It's my most favorite one of all, along with sunlight, basic biohacks, no products needed, just nature.
Yeah, that's incredible. So I'm realizing every time I go into a lake or a sea or something like that, I have immediately a bowel movement and I go into a parasympathetic state, sometimes immediately. And so it's so interesting. My whole system is calming down. There's a lot. I think we don't understand all components, but it doesn't really matter. So, yeah.
Yes. I completely agree. It's amazing what the body would do when you give it what it needs to operate as it should. It's actually really funny because I had this conversation with a neuroscientist friend, speaker of mine last night. For instance, if you take a psychedelic or if ketamine for ketamine-assisted therapy or something. Now, let's use ketamine because it's a fast in and out. You put this chemical in you, within 5 minutes, you're in a different reality. Within 45 minutes, your body has gone, there's something in me I need to clear very quickly, and self-corrects and brings you back to normality within 40 to 45 minutes. The liver and the body is so amazing at processing it and getting you back. It's like, oh, there's a threat here, let's clear it out. The body is self-correcting, so it goes off, oh, let's get it back in and into straightforward again. The body is the same in all regards, from sickness, chronic sickness included. If you have chronic health issues, something is blocking the body from getting back on the line it's supposed to be at. Grounding is one of those things that helps it to operate like it should. Just like amino acids for building and repair, just like water for toxin release and minerals, just like your vitamins if you're deficient in certain minerals and vitamins, your body will do different things. Grounding is one of those. I would class it as a nutrient, just like sun as a nutrient. If you get electrons from your food, antioxidants from vitamin C and all these things, or photons from your food or photons from the sun, they're all nutrients. So they're building blocks. So it's interesting, it shows that if you're in sympathetic and then you're grounding and then you become parasympathetic, it's showing your body is craving that, which means that you should be doing it more. And probably you'll find that an earthing pillowcase or an earthing mouse mat, and get a multimeter to test it to show that you are actually getting the flow of free electrons from it, then you probably find that your health and your performance and your growth and gains and workout routine becomes much easier as a result.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, let's jump a little bit back. We talked about essential amino acids, and you told that you built up some other supplements. And why did you build your own supplements, and what are the other ones? Yeah, why?
So the very first one for me is the daily core nutrients in terms of my supplements of my brand. Actually, I'm going to take it back one step. My favorite supplements of all time are two that I don't make. And I may do in the future, but we'll see. Number one is phospholipids. So phosphatidylcholine. Body Bio is the brand I use. And I use the gel caps. Now, the reason being is because our cell membranes governs what gets in the cells and gets out of the cells, okay? Nutrients in, toxins out. If our cell membranes aren't good, as we mentioned earlier on, and if it's made up of things like crappy sunflower oil or rancid oils and stuff, you're never going to have cellular health, proper cellular health. Phospholipids or phosphatidylcholine helps repair the cell membrane. So also the choline upregulates the liver, which means you produce more liver bile as well. And choline is so important in brain function. For instance, acetylcholine is pretty much what gets upregulated by most nootropics as well. And that's a similarity across all of them. It seems to be across all of the nootropics. So phospholipids PC by Body Bio is my number one supplement. And I take one capsule with every single meal, always, no exceptions. Number two is trimethylglycine. And for me or anyone that is an undermethylator, it is like magic dust. It's amazing. 2,000 milligrams before bed is the ideal dose for me. It can differ for other people. When I started adding in trimethylglycine on waking, I noticed, my energy went from walking around to being able to run everywhere again. And it was a significant shift in my energy production. So those are two that I recommend before my own. Then I brought out a product called the Daily Core Nutrients, which is, I don't like to belittle it and call it a multivitamin because it's a multivitamin, it's a multi-mineral, and it's got CoQ10 in there. And it's got the right synergistic doses of B12, folate, and the right vitamins to upregulate your methylation if you are an undermethylator. And it's a daily top up to make sure that you have the daily core nutrients for your cells to operate. So if there's one supplement to rule them all, in my opinion, other than the personalized two that I just recommended before, it is the daily core nutrients. And that's got like boron in it and things like that, and a little bit of magnesium. So that helps you run on all cylinders. And it's particularly good for people that are under methylators as well. So it helps upregulate detoxification, liver phase 1 and liver phase 2. So that's the daily core nutrients. Everyone else of that similar quality, and bearing in mind, I have built the cleanest supplements we can ever possibly make. Okay. And for instance, every single thing is considered. In fact, I'll give you an example with the daily core nutrients. There's actually a tiny bit of cornstarch, modified cornstarch.
Yeah.
And a few people mention it. Well, Tim, if you've got a biohacking supplement, why have you got modified cornstarch in it? Number one, it is a very clean source. Number two, it is less than a microgram. Number three, it is required for the manufacturing process for it to be stable. There is no manufacturer that we could find anywhere that could make it to the standard that we wanted without that. And yet we got it to, around a microgram. The thing is, even the capsules that they're made in, all manufacturers said it's not possible to make these capsules. They won't work in our machine because we wanted it so clean. In fact, they made it happen, and they did it to our specifications. And it was the first time that they ever made capsules from this material that was so clean. So that's number one. So daily core nutrients, you compare it to anyone else, their prices of this quality or as near to it is probably 30 to 50% more. Ours are, I think it's £40, €40, something like that. Whereas Thorn and Life Extension of that quality are around 50 to 60. So that's where really the starting point. And I take 2 of those every day with breakfast. And I won't run through all of them, but the next one obviously is the aminos that we've already discussed, and that's our flagship product. It's the most popular seller. We sell 3 of those to every one of everything else, and that's just because we need these building blocks for brain power, for our muscle repair, and everyone could pretty much have that and do well with it. We've also got a vitamin D and vitamin K. Now, the best supplement for vitamin D is sunlight. We shouldn't really supplement with it. But the reality is in northern hemispheres, we don't necessarily get enough sunlight. Our vitamin D levels are low. And with outcomes of certain viral things going around, the biggest indicator for success or low for a good response to the virus is actually having high vitamin D. And 98% of people with almost no symptoms had high vitamin D, and 96% of people that had the worst outcomes had low vitamin D. So, if you can't get to the sunlight, bring, vitamin D to you and supplement with it. So I brought out a vitamin D, which is actually it's a natural source one, which comes from lamb's wool, sheep's wool, opposed to synthetic or crappy sourced. And our vitamin K that comes with it stacked comes from fermented soy, so NATO sourced, which is Meta-Q, which is like the best you can get. And we've got it in cold extracted sunflower oil. Now, a question that comes up is, it's in sunflower oil. Don't you say sunflower oil is bad? 99% of sunflower oil is bad because it's processed at such high temperatures, it becomes rancid and oxidized, and it's actually very damaging for your cell membranes and mitochondria. If it's cold extracted, it's actually very, very good oil. But because so many people have asked me this question now, we're actually changing it to be an MCT oil. I mean, this is how, we're trying to improve everything. We also have a collagen, a fish-based collagen, which is a natural source. The fishermen go out, collect the fish, bring it back to shore, skin and bone it. We take that and then actually process that into a completely doesn't smell of fish at all, by the way. And we add acerola cherry to it. So you can add it to your coconut yogurts and things like that. And then that makes your yogurts high protein. So it helps you with your daily glycine and your protein levels for health and gut repair. We have various others, like a functional medicine shake, which is plant-based with digestive enzymes, prebiotics and things, which is rather nice. What's the other one? We've got some chlorella coming out. We've got buffered vitamin C coming out. I'm just working on some astaxanthin and something else as well. So we have about 30 products soon, but being so clean and having very, very high standards on our manufacturers, then it takes a while for these things to come through. But yeah, it's done. We actually sold out very, very quickly. I think it was 3 weeks from our first order. We sold out. So I'm very happy with how it's going.
Nice. Yeah, sounds like a great journey. So, and I'm really interested. It's pretty nice that you explain all of that. So I think it's really important that customers know how much energy went inside that, and that it's worth it. Yeah, and like it.
I mean, I know it sounds like a sales pitch, but it's really not. It's just trying to communicate the amount of work and resources that goes into making clean products, opposed to manufacturers that just chuck, oh yeah, we need vitamin B12 in there. Okay. And they say to the manufacturer, stick any B12 in there. And they stick cyanocobalamin, which is an inactive B12 that actually causes more issues than it helps, in my opinion. Or folic acid instead of methylfolate. There's intricate things that go into it. And really it's about education. And if we can educate people on what they should be looking for, it's like reading a label and seeing natural flavorings. Well, if they knew that actually natural flavorings is citric acid, which is actually a chemical, which is actually quite dangerous and it doesn't come from lemons, would they buy something with citric acid in it? I doubt it. So that's the purpose of this. And this is all I'm trying to do, is communicate it. Whichever brand that you buy, look out for these things and know that the labels have ways of working their way around so that you don't actually know what you're taking a lot of the time. And the supplement industry is terrible, which is exactly why I created this brand, so that people could trust it. Because I'm a biohacker that puts health first, health before profits. But
yeah, and trust is really, really important. Yeah, I think you built a lot of trust in the last years. And one of the best things that you built is for sure the Health Optimization Summit. And I hope it will be possible next year. First of all, the Health Optimization Summit. So why isn't it called the Biohacking Summit? So is health optimization the same like biohacking, in your opinion?
It's a good question. While I consider myself to be a biohacker, it's very misunderstood, and media don't necessarily like it, or certain industries don't like it because it challenges the system, I guess. Also, people think it's about having genetic optimization or having metal implants and becoming a cyborg. It's not. But also, biohacking is great. It's very, very good, but it's also associated with rich people generally. And I did a survey on Oxford Street a few years back, and it was asking people if they wanted to biohack themselves. And we had less than 0.1% of people that we asked say they even knew what it was, let alone wanted to biohack themselves. Might be a bit different today. But when we say, do you want to optimize your health? We had 95% of people say yes. And now that was pre-COVID. So let's just imagine what it is like today. And then 4% of people said a loved one. So like a mother, a father, a partner or something. And then around 1% just were rude and pushed us out the way because it's London and they're probably on the way back to the office or something. So it shows that biohacking, while it is amazing, it's limited in its reach because of understanding. So health optimization, I felt, was a much better name for me personally, because it is about optimizing health, not just becoming a cyborg. So, so thus Health Optimization Summit. While I'm a biohacker and I love the biohackers, most of them, I consider myself to be a health optimizer. And, since doing that, we've grown significantly. Like, we went from 500 followers on our meetup to several thousand within weeks. And as a result of the summit being health optimization, we had leading medical specialists that would speak at our summit because they didn't like biohacking as label and on the dogma that surrounds it, but they were very happy to speak at a health optimization conference with other functional medicine doctors and things as well. So we could then target health, fitness, medical wellness, nutrition, biohacking, paleo, keto, all of these different fields, and bring them together with the sole goal of let's make ourselves healthier. And that's why it's Health Optimization Summit, not Biohacker Summit or Biohacking Conference or one of those.
Yeah. I love it. Then in my feeling, health optimization, I love the term, but in my work, I communicate more like it's for everyone who want to take responsibility for his health. And maybe health optimization sounds a little bit too elite too. And I like it more to go a little bit lower. Everyone who want to do something for his health and want to take responsibility is welcome to use the tools of biohacking.
Yeah.
So
I think also in German, the word optimization has a different feeling to it than it does in English.
It's pretty hard. It's pretty hard in Germany.
Yeah. I was actually speaking to Max Gottler a few weeks about it, and Dr. Dom as well. And they're like, yeah, optimization has a very different meaning over here.
But really?
For me, it means continuous improvement, to always better something. And some people say, oh, well, you shouldn't need to keep on focusing on your health. But you should always be focusing on your health, and that means preventing things from going wrong. You know, a friend of mine, Martin Tobias, who used to be the CEO of Bulletproof Labs, once told me his story about going to the doctors, and he said to his doctor, I want to be better. And he goes, what's wrong with you? He said, nothing. But I want to be better. Like, how can I have better brain power? How can I have more energy? He goes, yeah, but what's wrong with you? He said, nothing. He said, well, we can't find anything wrong with you, so go away. It's like, why should I have to go to the doctors only when something's wrong? Why shouldn't I be able to go to the doctors to be better and prevent things from going wrong? And that's exactly where health optimization comes in. It's like, if you're sick and chronically sick and you haven't been helped, these are the things that you can do. If you want to prevent that, here's the things that you can do. And here's a community that can help you do it. Mm-hmm. I understand you completely.
Yeah, but it's really interesting to think about that, because my audience is German and Austrian and Switzerland. And yeah, in German, so hacking is a pretty hard word, and optimization too. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I was talking about maybe doing one of the conferences in mainland Europe at some point, but it is a consideration with the name. But I think a lot of people have got to know health optimization as a brand now. So I think it's probably going to be accepted a little bit different, but we'll see. Time will tell.
Nice. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the Health Optimization Summit next year. Yeah, could you please just tell our audience when it is, where it is, and how to join? Central London, last weekend in May 2022, 1,500 health optimizers, and 100 brands, 50 speakers, which includes people like Vishen from Mind Valley, Ben Greenfield, we've just confirmed as well, which is amazing. Nice. To London. Amy Killen, Dr. Amy Killen, and all these guys as well. So it's all the top speakers coming to London at the end of May. The website is summit.healthoptimization.com. I will link to all of that, and to your course too, and to your supplements, and to the summit. Thank you. And your followers can find me at Tim Biohacker on Instagram if you want to keep up to the day-to-day free biohacks.
One last question. What is your vision?
Eventually, a health optimization or biohacking will look after the chronic health issues, and the medical community will look after the emergency health issues, because, let's be honest, they are amazing at it. I have no doubt about that at all. Emergency carers can't get much better, but the chronic healthcare can. And I would love it for the worlds to actually merge and say, let's be synergistic. So that's really my vision of where it could get to eventually. I really hope so. But it's probably going to take 30 years, knowing how long it took for the cigarette tobacco industry to shape up. Perfect. So, nice. Thank you for sharing. No worries.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you learned a lot and you're inspired to take responsibility of your own health and to take practical steps to start right now. I would be happy if you share this episode with your friends and colleagues on social media and leave us a reply on Apple iTunes. As always, all we talked about you can find in the show notes. In this episode, we discussed essential amino acids, and as you know, I'm a big fan of essential amino acids too. And the product I use is Smart Protein from Everydays. Smart Protein delivers you all the building blocks you need for your body and for your brain. So for me, it's like my Swiss Army knife. I use them before my workout, after my workout, sometimes before I sleep for better sleep, and in the morning while fasting for my cognitive function. The essential amino acids are composed in a ratio like your body. It's called a human amino pattern. There are no fillers, no sweeteners, nothing else. So it's perfect for your stomach, good for your gut. And I really love it. You can find the link for Everydays in the show notes, and you can use the code ThinkFlowGrow10 for saving 10%. And if you're already there, I really like their probiotic, their Protect, that's an anti-inflammatory complex, and their Alive, that's a really good product for more energy during the day. Thank you so much for your support. And now, have a great day.